Welcome to Storytimer at Large. This is potential serial killer Joseph Norman Hill. Um, just want to take a moment to talk about him. You'll probably see more cases connected to him in the future. Um, the case that has uh, begun all this, it happened in 1972. A young boy in Boardman, Ohio, which is just south and almost connected to Youngstown, Ohio, in northeast Ohio. Uh, this young man was named Brad Lee Bellino. Um, he was found strangled and sexually assaulted in 1972. And the case went cold, but recently, uh, through DNA and genetic genealogy, the perpetrator of this crime was found to be this man right here, Joseph Norman Hill. In 1972, when Brad was killed, Joseph Norman Hill was 32 and he drove a truck delivering bottled water. He lived on Shadyside Drive in Boardman, Ohio. That's not far at all from the place where Brad Lee Bellino was found. Joseph Norman Hill was a married man. In 1978, Joseph Norman Hill packed up his family and moved to San Bernardino County, California. Over the years, he moved house 14 times there. He died on July 3rd, 2019. Investigators in Boardman, Ohio stated in 2023 that if Hill was still living, they would have charged him with this crime. The DNA evidence was that compelling. The match was that spot on. Officials in Ohio are still looking at him for a series of murders of boys in Northeast Ohio prior to 1978. One in particular, a couple in particular, right there in Boardman. On December 3rd, 1970, 15-year-old Thomas Baird was found on Lake Park Road. Most of his clothing had been torn from his body. He had been violently beaten, but he was still alive. He was transported to the hospital. Thomas Baird was barely able to speak. His head injuries were so severe. Detectives were able to ask him if he knew who did this. He seemed to indicate yes, but was unable to give more details before he died of his injuries. Another case that is more than likely connected to Joseph Norman Hill is the 1975 case of David Evans. David Evans was found on January 23rd, 1975, buried in a pile of snow in a shopping center parking lot. It's the same shopping center, or very close to it, where Brad Lee Bellino was found in 1972. At first, it was thought that perhaps David had had some sort of diabetic incident. He was a diabetic. But then medical examiners found a large puncture wound on his back. They also believe that he was sexually assaulted. So these Boardman, Ohio murders of Brad Lee Bellino, which has definitely been connected to Joseph Norman Hill here, and the 1970 murder of Thomas Baird, and the 1975 murder of David Evans, are being investigated in connection with Joseph Norman Hill. But remember, he moved in 1978 to Southern California, to San Bernardino County. So investigators in California are keeping him in mind for cold cases of young boys who were murdered out there. So that's a little bit about this case. Hill only had one arrest in California for lewd conduct in the 1980s. So, but it is possible that there are many more victims and many more cold cases out there as well. So just keep this in mind. I'm just putting it out there on the internet so that it might get in front of the right person if they were looking at a cold case in their area and wondering, you know, where to go from here. You know, if it was in Northeast Ohio or Ohio in general, or in San Bernardino County, California, or Southern California in general, and you're running out of suspects, running out of ideas, there's a DNA profile out there for this fellow. So, thanks for listening. Thank you. If you subscribe to the channel, if you are someone who shares the videos, I appreciate that. None of this is for money. It is only for trying to solve some cold cases. So like the videos, subscribe if you can, if you like to, share the videos. All of that helps encourage the algorithm to suggest these videos to other people as well on YouTube. So, and cases that get attention are cases that get solved. So it's just as simple as that. Thanks very much. I hope you have a good day. Thanks.